Hello everyone, this is Shah from Spire Podcast. Welcome back to another episode. In today's episode, we have Nick Hall. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly.
That's right.
Hello Nick, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So Nick, is this is the structure of the podcast. You have to introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Nick Hall. I was the founder of a gummy vitamin brand. Started a company back in college with a buddy of mine. Started as direct to consumer. Scaled up our direct to consumer to multiple seven figures within the first couple of years, and then decided we wanted to scale a bit further. I ended up launching our Amazon. Scaled that fairly large, and then went into retail. As I went into retail, I ended up outsourcing to about 7 different agencies. In that meantime, I ended up scaling our retail from 0 to 7,000 doors within about 2 years. And as I, look back 2 years later, my Amazon had not grown at all. In fact, it had actually shrunk 15% by the end of it. So, fairly irritated with that. We had a lot of good growth of the brand, but, shrinking on Amazon, which naturally our brand was getting bigger and bigger. We should have been growing. I took it back in my hands and ended up within 3 months had a 450% gain in terms of our revenue there. So really, really good success. Had a couple different emotions. One was irritated with all the different agencies, but then was super excited about, some really, really good growth. I ended up actually selling that business a little bit over a year ago. Just went public with that. I kept it very, very quiet. And now I've helped a number of just really, really good, high quality, fast growing CPG brands scale from, small numbers to very, very large. And gosh, it's been fun. It's cool taking a brand from 10 grand a month to 3, 4, 500,000 a month within a couple months. So.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, it really sounds interesting, and it is interesting actually when you pick the brand from very small numbers and then you cross the million. So, if we talk about launching the brand, how it is different, like back in when you are starting your journey, how was it different from now when you start and launching brand today?
Oh
Is
yeah.
it the
I think we're all wishing that we could launch a brand back in 2012, 2016, especially on Amazon. Because it used to be the day of, hey, you change something in your title and you're ranking 30 minutes later. And I mean, as simple as it got, right? So
yeah.
when we first launched, I'd done a ton of research. I knew a ton of the people in the space from some of the top sellers out there. And, you could literally just make small changes. Obviously, advertising was cheaper. Obviously, the fees were cheaper. I mean, there's always the next thing and whatever it may be. The reality, though, is there's more people shopping on Amazon now than ever. And so the potential now is substantially higher, but it was a lot cheaper back then. So what I say is back then, you didn't have to be super strategic. You could just kind of like figure it out, use it. Like Helium 10 was like the big tool back then. I think it's still a pretty big tool, but like, it was really there's that and a couple other small ones. And yeah, you could just go out there and do some very, very basic keyword research and start scaling up pretty quickly. Nowadays, I think it takes a substantially more strategic approach, starting with the product and then going into, your actual launch strategy, the images that you're using, all of the other parts of optimization you have to have.
Exactly, yeah. I asked this question a lot of the influencers in the niche, and they mentioned the same thing, that it's not the same. It's like 150% harder than it was there at that time. So if we talk
Yeah.
about scaling, like if there is a new seller who want to scale their brand, who just started, like you can say they just got 10 initial reviews and they want to scale their brand, what are the steps and what are the stages and how much time does it take when we consider that okay, we uh, scale this brand to a level?
Yeah. So, well, I'm going to start it from, let's just take it from brand level. Let's just say someone's, hey, I'm trying to get on Amazon. I just got on Amazon.
Mhm.
what are my next steps? A lot of people go right to the advertising. Oh, well, what you got to do is advertise like this. I
Mhm.
like to take it back a step. I'm an operator. I grew my own CPG business. I'm not just someone that saw some YouTube videos and just thought to get into this. I take this stuff from how do you build a brand to then later potentially sell or just let it cash flow and bring in and get income, right? When I got into the Amazon world in terms of like helping other brands,
Mhm.
I thought the most interesting thing for myself was going to be, hey, I'm going to get to see all these brands grow and see all these like super cool things. It's going to be awesome to see the growth. It's one of my favorite things for sure. But I'll tell you what's been even cooler is like launching hundreds of products. I've gotten to see like what are the products that win. And so I haven't heard a whole lot of people start like this, but the reality with Amazon nowadays is you have to know what product to launch first. So if you have a catalog of 10, I'm gonna step back further from the, hey, you've already got 10 reviews on a product. What you got to do is you got to make sure that product research is right. So when you're looking at product research, I like looking at a number of different things. The first thing I like looking at is, one, is there a market for this? Are people searching for it? Is there a volume? And the volume may be different for certain people. Some people want to make 10 grand a month. Some people want to make a couple million a month.
Mhm.
And so you got to figure out like, what is the competition doing? And how is the competition doing it? Which keywords are they ranking on organically? Which ones are they doing sponsored? How much are they paying per click? How much are you willing to pay per click? What's your conversion rate? Kind of going through all that stuff, which fortunately over the years, like we said, Amazon was a lot easier back in the day. I should say this, Amazon was a lot simpler back in the day. It is not as simple now. There are
Mhm.
so many different levers that you have to pull. If you go in and you look at what it takes to be successful now, you have to have a better product. I had someone come to me one time and they said, hey, I want to launch a brand. I'm just going to go buy some stuff off Temu and sell on Amazon. Zero interest. You will not be successful. It is going to be incredibly difficult. You're trying to take a commoditized product and act as if it's something good when it's not.
Mhm.
You've got to go out there and first figure out, what do the reviews look like? If every competitor is a 4.7, 4.8, it's going to be difficult. If
Mhm.
they've all got thousands of reviews, that's really, really hard. I like going into something that maybe is a little bit harsher on the reviews and you can create a product that truly is better. And then you look at the price point. Can you be profitable on it? Is this price $11 and your cost of goods is 4 and Amazon's going to take 30%, 40%?
Mhm.
That's all like really, really important stuff to look at. And then, what's the search volume and the relevancy to your product? Is yours a super, super niche product? Is it super general? Like if you're going for a collagen product, good luck. Massive potential, right? These
Yeah.
guys are doing millions a month, but the cost per clicks are outrageous. And so that's part to my last point is going through and looking at, okay, if these cost per clicks are $6
Mhm.
and you've got a 12% conversion, let's say 10% conversion rate just for ease of numbers, it's going to cost you $60 to get a new customer. And so that's a super, super important thing for people to look at. And so I've got a brand in the electrolyte space where we scaled them from 10 grand a month to almost 400,000 a month. And this has been within a number of months. This is fairly, fairly quick. That brand, I've had other ones come to me and I'm like, it doesn't make sense for you to launch it. I mean, if you launch it, you have got to be so strategic and you've got to have a short, mid, and long term plan. If you're just trying to make money in the short term, midterm, then you're going to lose money for a little bit. You got to be very, very strategic. So that's where I like to start. So there's 3 places that I like to go whenever scaling a brand. The first is going to be picking the product. Once
Mhm.
you've picked the product, you've got to make it better. Go through their reviews. What do people not like about their product? The taste isn't good. The carbs are too high. The protein's too low. Whatever. I'm talking food products, but you could do it with anything. Make it better on that. See if you can innovate in some way. Get their product, use their product, and think like an entrepreneur and
Mhm.
go figure out how you can make it better. Then what you got to do is then you got to launch. And the launch strategy is super important. You got to get the SEO right. You got to get the title, the bullets, the description. Then really, really important, your images and A+ content are super, super important. People don't read the bullets. Half the time the bullets are hidden or hard for people to see.
Yeah.
So whenever they go through the images, make sure that every image that you have is selling. What I mean by that is no one cares to see each side of the bottle or can
Mhm.
or product. People want to see, what is it that's better? Or is this just a straight commodity? Because people are on there and they're looking and they know what they want. So they're searching, but does yours fulfill the needs that others don't? Are you better than those? And then once that's all set, then you've got your launch plan on the PPC, which we can go super in depth with as well. And which, you got to get really, really targeted to start. Make sure you use the right keywords, the ones that have the right cost per click, et cetera, et cetera. And then you gradually expand. But this is all dependent on someone's budget, right? You got 50 million in funding, or are you on your last $1,000 in spend? So you got to make sure that you're very strategic on that.
That's great. That's great. And yeah, these are the main crucial three steps towards scaling your brand. So if you talk about the first stage, which is the product development or the product selection, so what type of product in we should choose? For example, number one, what are the categories we should avoid, or what are the categories we should like consider? Secondly, what should be the price range? Considering the Amazon day-to-day increase in fees, different type of fees, which we even don't know the names. So, considering those a lot of fees and Amazon advertising cost, which is increasing year by year, what should be the price range? So, number one, what should be the what are the considerable categories, and number two, what should be the price range?
All right, cool. And I'm writing those down just so I don't forget them. Cool. Categories. I'm gonna say this. It is not a category specific thing. Back in the day, people love supplements. People love beauty. Okay, supplements and beauty are very expensive. I scaled one of the largest, creatine gummies companies out there. We were the number one selling, and over time, they went from $1 cost per click up to a $6 cost per click. So, speaking, I would actually, again, a lot of this is generically speaking. Don't, if someone's listening to this and they're looking at, hey, I want to get into this, what I would say is stay away from sexy products. The collagen of the world, the creatine of the world, the beauty product here, there, wherever. The other thing I would say is stay out of commodities. If it's a commodity, it's going to be incredibly difficult to scale that. And you're always going to be fighting on price. Amazon's always increasing their fees.
Yeah.
And there's going to be someone at some point that comes in with a lot more funding or a lot more money than you, and they can just eat your lunch.
Exactly.
Or they'll just go take the biggest guy out there and take you out, right? I personally don't like fighting in any of those places. I like the idea of getting into something that people just don't think about, right? Don't think about electronics. Don't think about headphones. Don't think about phone cases. Don't think about, go around like a Home Depot. Go into an Ace Hardware. Go into an IKEA. Go into not these like everyday places that like your Walmarts where like it's so cool. I've been on the shelves of Target and Walgreens and Kroger and all that stuff, and it was a sexy product and it was super cool and it's really, really good and you can build up a massive product. But like apple cider vinegar used to do millions and millions of dollars a month, specifically for Goli and some of these other Optic Nutrition, some of these very large brands or whatever. And then boom, it becomes commoditized because there's 2,500 sellers on it. So for me, I try to stay away from the TikTok trends. Stay away from the like super, super out there things. Now, can you win big on those? Absolutely. If someone's just getting started, I just say stay away from those. So rather than me telling you, hey, hop into this or hop into that, what I would say is stay away from the super sexy stuff. Make sure that you've got margin. So if you can get into something that people don't think about on a daily basis, that is a great thing to be in. I don't know what that may be for some people. I've thought about before, I'm not going to do this, but you could do window treatments. They're all custom sizes. You can, there's not a ton of competition. I've thought about doing stuff like garage things, like garage flooring or, other random things. I'm not getting into that again, but like the idea is like go find something that people aren't really looking at. And then when it comes to price, I'm gonna start a little bit different way. Because if you go buy, shampoo at the store, you can't price that at $30. It's gonna be incredibly difficult to price it. And so generically speaking, there's two different price points and they're going to contradict each other, but they'll make sense if you kind of listen through here. If you choose to go the route of under $10, which when I say under $10, I mean $9.99.
Mm-hmm.
You can get, what is that? What's that program called? It's like the the affordable program, right? Like anything under that, they're gonna reduce your fees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
Launchpad, something like that.
what was it?
Launch Amazon Launchpad, I guess.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So it came out just a bit ago. It used to be small and light. Now it transitioned to this. It's a
Oh,
great
SNL.
thing.
Yeah, SNL program.
Yes, small and
Yeah.
light. It transitioned
Mhm.
to something else, and it's like something whatever. It's
Yeah.
cheap products, pretty much under $10.
Hmm.
You can get really good margin there because the Amazon's helping you out on that one. Other than that, though, I always suggest above $15, $14.99 or above, let's just say, because Amazon's fees, they're going to take 15% off the top, and most fees, depending on the size of the product, again, is going to be $3.50 or something like that. And so when you take $3.50 and then you take another 15% of $15, they're taking $5.75. So before your cost of goods, they're already taking almost 40% of your
Yeah.
margin. So I'm someone, again, we're all in business to make money, right? I mean, obviously, hopefully we have a bigger cause than just to make money, but the idea here is, we're here to make money, and you don't want to have a 10% margin at the end of the day. You still have to put in something um, for the for your cost of goods and for your advertising. This is how I look at pricing. There are two ways. Again, this is coming from an operator, someone that's been in this business before, that's been on the shelves of Target, and there's two different prices you got to look at. One is the absolute price, which is how much money is someone paying. Are they paying $10? Are they paying $20? Are they paying $50? How much cash is coming out of their wallet? And the second price that you're going to look at, that's the most important one. The second most important one is the price per unit or per count or per ounce or whatever the unit is that you guys measure, per box, whatever.
Mhm.
And you want to be reasonable on it. You cannot be 4 or 5 times the cost and be at the top of the organic spot.
Yeah.
I believe so. I mean, if you're looking at, a stand-up desk, they're not going to be $15 desks. It physically would never happen. You can't get a cost of goods that cheap. So they're going to be more expensive. But look at yours, compare it to others, and truly just build a spreadsheet and just look at yours. And before you buy it from your supplier, see, are you actually better than everyone in every spot? I'm going to give you a bad example of what I did. I
Sure.
launched this product a couple of years ago. Worst product launch I've ever had. I started to figure out how to do Amazon. I was learning all the hacks, the tricks, the growth. This is a number of years ago. And I launched this. One, which way is this? Like this.
Yeah.
L-tyrosine. Kind of hard to
Correct.
see. Back here, can't see anything, right?
I can see.
Really, really good product to launch at the time. I know it because I've launched enough now that I can tell you. I'm going to tell you why I did not succeed. It starts with the product. My advertising was really, really good. Had it, and I got a good ACOS, and I was scaling a decent amount, but I got stuck at a certain point. I could not get past a certain point in the organic rank, even though I had a ton of velocity through sponsored. Mine was 120 count. Theirs was 180. Mine was 500 milligrams. Theirs was 1,000 milligrams.
Mm.
Mine was $18. Theirs was $13. Competition beat me on every single thing, and I was trying to win in a commoditized space. That will not work. Now, I launched a different product. It was a magnesium gummy, right when those were kind of getting bigger, and I had a really competitive price. I had the best amount of milligrams per serving, and it was substantially better in terms of taste, everything else, and it wasn't super commoditized. I mean, within 30 days, it was doing tens of thousands a month and almost immediately profitable. So kind of gives you an idea of all the different types.
That's cool. Yeah, exactly. We are also considering our own launch in the higher price because when you go on higher price, you may also see fewer seller than in the low price category because due to cash flow issues, not all of the client sellers are going there, or even if they are, they also face the cash flow issues. So we saw this, and secondly, you have higher profit margin. If not in the percentage, then in the dollar amount, you have the higher margins. For example, if it's a $50 product, so around $10 to $15 you have the profit margin, or even higher, and you can easily manage the other cost there. So yeah, if we talk about, let's suppose we finalize the product, we choose the product. Now it's time to take it live on Amazon, and coming
Yep.
towards the product SEO and product design, etc. So what are the good practices for the product images, A plus content, and brand story?
Yeah. So let's start with images. Main image is super, super, super important, right? Get your click through rate up. The idea on that, right, is show as much advantage as possible.
Mhm.
I'm gonna show this product again. This is a bad example.
Sure.
Put it back here. Can you read what this says? It's really, really hard to read this. When you bring
Mhm.
it up super close, it's better, right? But the
Yeah.
reality is like the reason why I did L-tyrosine on this one, I did mind as the secondary. That was really bad. Again, this is a number of years ago. Did not understand. I understand advertising. I did not understand the other. You want your first image. What is this? Is this powder or is it a pill? No idea. Sorry.
No idea.
I'm off.
I have to read it carefully.
Um,
Yeah.
you want if you go talk to a target buyer, they're gonna say, "What's your A copy? What's your B copy?" Okay.
Hmm.
Your A copy is the first most important thing. So, what is the most important keyword term on Amazon? Let's just say it's L-tyrosine capsules. You want that to be, again, bad example. L-tyrosine capsules should be huge on your thing, on your package. Your secondary should be one of the secondary keywords. And I don't mean L-tyrosine capsules for men or something like that. Like maybe it is focus vitamins, focus, whatever. The idea is you want to make sure that someone sees that and they go through and they're like, boom, that's exactly what I need. So in addition to that, make sure put your pill right here, right? Gosh, I'm off on this camera. Put the pills in the bottom right. So first image, you got to make sure that it is, are there flavors in it? Are there whatever? There's some things against TOS. Again, these are slap on the wrist TOS things. They're not like Black Cat. You're gonna get banned, whatever. Be smart with it, right? Like, so you go watch Mary Ruth. Mary Ruth is an incredibly smart brand. They'll put
Hmm.
something on the cap here saying, 180 count, does this as the advantage, whatever it may be. That's not actually on their package, but that's a really, really good way. Then when you think through your images 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, if it's not a video, you want to show advantages of everything. Go through the other reviews, figure out what is the main thing that people are looking for. Okay. So with the cell tyrosine, the reason why I was never able to win at the largest level was my product was not as good. That is just the reality. And it's okay. You can relaunch it, you can do better, whatever.
Hmm.
It was a commodity product, but let's just say you've got you know, let's just take headphones for an example. How do you share with the consumer that your headphones are more comfortable, that they fit better, that they sound better? And so then you take all of those advantages and put them in through the images of each one of them. And so there's no, what I always say is do it as if you're reading left to right. Images are on the top left. That's where people look first. People are going to look at the images as the main thing. They are trying to figure out as much as they can through the images rather than the words. Now, when they get really, really deep in it, they're going to look through that. Maybe they're looking for a certain size, weight machine or whatever it may be. Then it gets more important in that side. But if you can answer all questions in your first images, that is the ideal of that. A plus, very similar there, right? How are you guys different? How are you better than others? Amazon has commoditized almost every industry. You do not have to create a commodity to win. You just have to create a better product. Brand story again, like, do you have something that people care about? Is it woman owned? Is it, whatever? I was talking to someone the other day and they have a product and I asked him, I said, what's better about your company? And he goes, oh, well, it tastes better in branding. And I'm like, wow, that is going to be incredibly difficult to sell. How
Hmm.
do you tell someone without reviews? You don't have any reviews when you launch. How are you able to tell someone that it tastes better? Like that's really, really difficult to do. And then your branding. People are not buying because of your branding. They are buying because of the product. I know that branding is an important factor. I'm
Yep.
not trying to discount that at all. But you
Exactly.
cannot win off of just saying it tastes better. So, is there something real with your story? I talked to a guy the other day who has literally the most eco-friendly and coolest design toothbrush I think I've ever seen. cooler than Quip, cooler than all these things. And this guy is like hardcore, like he's not manufacturing it in China. He's manufacturing it within Northern America because he doesn't want to pay for all the shipping to come over here. I mean, he is like the Patagonia of these toothbrushes, and I thought it was so cool. I'm like, good for you, man. Of course, it's me a bit of a premium, but he kind of hit on all that. So that's something that you can add into this brand story. We do this because of this. Yes, it is going to be more expensive because we are so hardcore on our values here.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, and regarding the branding, even if I ask you that, what you purchase in last 3 days from Amazon or any other inline platform, can you tell me?
So,
What was the last thing you purchased online?
oh my gosh, a lot of stuff from Prime Day, but
Do you know
one,
do you know all the
one,
brand names or any of the brand name?
nope, don't know the brand name.
That's the thing. Yeah, exactly. Because
Good point.
people come here to buy products, not the brands. And
It's
you
true.
can, yeah, exactly. Most of the time, people even don't care about the brand. It's considerable when you go big and you're a giant in your
Sure.
niche, but when you are in the initial stage, I also uh, consult my clients that you should focus on the product keywords, on the labeling and the package, not on the brand logo and the name, because they make it more bigger.
Yep.
I mentioned that it affect the CTR on the main image. So go for the increasing the text or even the keywords of your product, not the
Yep.
brand name. People can read it when they have the product in their hand.
Yeah, it's
Ah,
true. I mean, it's not to discount big brands, right? But just like you're saying,
exactly.
when you're getting started, well, it's funny. So I started my agency helping others on Amazon, right? And
Mhm.
for the longest time, I have not told anyone about this for a very long time. And I didn't have a name. I didn't have a website. I didn't have anything. But I'll tell you, I've
Mm,
grown it to a really, really good size without anyone knowing anything. Never announced anything on LinkedIn, nothing. It was just like people knew how I did it. But guess how I got more brands? People
mm.
found out the results that I gave, and then they're
Ex-
like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's insane." And so it's so funny. I tell people all the time. I got someone that's trying to start a company right now, and they're so hung up on the name. And I'm like, your brand
mm,
name means absolutely nothing in the early days. Yes, I'm not saying it doesn't mean anything forever, but like, dude,
exactly.
go and execute. If you do all the other things right,
Yeah.
the name's just a name.
Yeah, exactly. And I was invited in my own university after graduation for a what do you call when the a lot of, yeah, panel discussion. I miss the word sometime. So
Yeah,
they ask about, like, one of the students asked that, do the branding or the sales matters in the start. So I mentioned, actually they were talking about the entrepreneurship versus business. So I mentioned that first you have to do business in order to generate money for yourself. When you
yeah,
become a businessman, you have enough money, then you can put there into different ideas and become an entrepreneur. If you try to be an entrepreneur in the first hand, you don't have money, you just freshly graduated and you want to try different ideas, so probably you're gonna fail because you don't have the business experience, the capital to introduce, and the extra money to practice those ideas. So first become
yeah,
a businessman, or try to do some businesses in already established categories. Like if someone is selling remotes, you should also try selling remotes. Once you
yeah,
become an established businessman there, then you can go for different ideas. You can even put remote anywhere and do whatever with that. So this is the
yep.
thing. When you're starting selling on Amazon, first become a seller, then become an entrepreneur, and then become a brand.
I like
So
that.
yeah.
That's a good
So
way to just say it.
yeah, exactly. So if we towards the listing SEO, which includes the SEO includes all of the stuff in front of us and backend. But if you talk about the text, like the title, bullets, and then backend information, so what do you value the most in forms of the written content and in the backend content?
Yeah, I mean, title is going to be the most
Mm.
powerful, right? I mean, Amazon's able to now read words within your images. I say now. I mean, they've been able to for a while, and so you've got to, that's the title is going to be the most important. Then your bullets, then your description,
Mm.
and it's the most important two ways. One, I think that Amazon actually weighs it the most, um, but two, like that's where the consumer looks at it. And again, your goal, your first goal should be get people to click on your product. If someone looks at yours and they're like, "Oof, that looks like a generic Chinese brand that looks like crap," they're not going to click. Or maybe they click, but then they don't convert or whatever it may be. So, I'm going to speak out of the other side of my mouth. Well, I don't think brand is the thing that's going to be the actual selling point. I do think it is still super important. And what I mean by that is I bought two pressure washers, okay? No clue what the brands are. And they were both within a couple dollars of each other. And I knew whenever I was buying them, I'm going to return one of them. Whichever one isn't as good, I'm going to get rid of. And the box of one of them, I could tell you from the box that it came in that it was better. And it was like this nice matte, like looked like a premium product, right? And then the other one was just kind of like this jank, looked like it was, they went as cheap as they could go. Well, they also went as cheap as they could go with the product. And so before opening the box, I already knew which one I was probably keeping, probably, meaning unless they had a crappy product in there. But I already had my first thoughts. So, anyways, that goes back to, your title is going to be the most important. And I would almost say your images and the words in there, and then the bullets. So,
Hmm. That's great. Yeah, exactly. And what about the backend information? Does it matter? Like, I know it matters, but when I
sure.
see and audit most of the client products, then they say that okay, we put the necessary information there, but I think
Yeah.
not gonna see the backend. So, what do you say about that?
Yeah. I mean, all this stuff is super important. Is it as important as it was in 2012, 2015, 2017? No. Like, if you think that you're going to change your title and you're going to become the number one selling, like, I hate to break it to you, it's just not the case. But if you're able to, you've got to get that right at first. So now it's not overly difficult, but you've got to have the right tools. You got to understand how to do it, and don't keyword stuff. Amazon's smart. They don't want to see, L-tyrosine for kids, L-tyrosine for men, L-tyrosine for women, L-tyrosine capsules. Like, that's not good. So
Hmm.
get as many like roots as you can
Mhm.
and get that straight through it where you can really get some good power in your title that also makes sense to consumers.
Exactly. Sometimes I think I don't know the exact thing, but sometimes I think that the backend information is for the algorithm and the front end information is for customer. But I
Yeah.
yeah, there are still some things in the front end like the title, which is still for algorithm as well.
Yep. Yep. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Love it.
Um, if we talk about selling and increasing the sales, which may be through advertising or through organic practices, so how we can increase the organic ratio in the sales while we are talking about scaling the brand and increasing
Yeah.
the growth.
Yeah. I mean, everyone talks about A9 algorithm, A10 algorithm. They're thinking there's all this different stuff, right? And
Mm,
at the end of the day, what people have got to get back to, this is something that I kind of learned through the business. And there's an investor, and he always said, consider the source. And what he meant by that is if you go ask a marketing person a question about finance, understand that is a marketing person, not a finance person. So you may want to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. When
mhm.
you go ask most agency owners, how do I scale a brand, but they've never done it, consider the source, right? And so what I like to look at is, sorry, ask your question one more time. Holy cow, I just forgot my train of thought.
Yeah, I asked like how to increase the organic ratio in the sales, the
Thank you.
total sales. Yeah.
Yes. So back to the A9 algorithm. Let's think about what Amazon wants. Amazon is a public company. So at the
Mm,
end of the day, what are they trying to do? They're trying to show that their earnings are increasing, that their revenue, their profit, everything is increasing, right? Amazon loves making money. Jeff Bezos is not bad at that. He's very, very good at that. And while they care about the customer first, we got to think about they have limited time with the customer and they want the customer to buy, right? I'm going to go on Amazon today, probably. I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm going to buy or not. But Amazon is so smart that they look at every single keyword, organic, sponsored, how does it react? And it's substantially deeper than that. When you look at Amazon, people won't tell you this because they want to go through the tactical of all these things. And I can tell you all the tactical things, but the reality is Amazon wants you to convert. And so if you converted a 3.0 star, 90%, they're going to put you up there. So is
Mm.
it about your ratings? Kind of, but it's really about your conversion rate. And so, I mean, obviously, is a 4.8 probably going to convert higher than a 3.0 star? Probably. But if someone went out there and was just trying to lose money and just get organic rank and they were going to sell stand-up desks that, let's just say they typically go for $300, they're going to sell them for $25, that person's going to hit number one pretty quick.
Mm.
But then they're going to have to increase their price if they ever want to make money. So to me, it's all organic rank is velocity and conversion rate. So again, this is where I started back from the beginning. This is coming from an operator in a CPG business. Like, you've got to have a better product. If you have a better product, life becomes so much easier the whole way through. If you've
Mm.
got a bad product, you are always going to be running uphill and it's going to be really, really tough. So that's the way. And then the reality is you got to have velocity, right? Amazon wants to make money. Again, we got to get back to it. Like, while they say the customer is first, their customer is first because their customer gives them money, which gives them a higher stock price, which makes them more money and investors happier and blah, 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 right? But the reality is they want to see you getting more and more products sold.
Mm.
And so that means organic and sponsored. And if you don't want to pay for sponsored, that's okay because the next guy will. And when the next guy does, he starts increasing his velocity. He starts learning, increasing his conversion rate, and boom, now he's towards the top. And so it's all about conversion and velocity through it.
Mm. That's great. Exactly. Exactly. So, if we, for example, we launch the product now, we have a stable sales, for example, 10 or 20 units per day.
Yep.
Now, what's the strategy towards increasing and growing the brand? Like
Yeah.
the product, you can see the product has reached to the maximum potential in the organic way. Like, we
Yep.
can increase on the advertising and we can push the revenue much, but in the organic way we are profitable and we have reached the potential. Now, what should be the strategy? Should we go towards other marketplaces? Should we introduce more variations, or should we introduce more products in the same niche?
You may have to remind me on this question if I forget it, but I'm going to start a little bit different.
Yeah.
If I've got 100 grand, I use this example fairly often. If I've got 100 grand, it costs me $15,000 to launch a product.
Hmm.
It is substantially more powerful to launch one product than five. If you launch five products, you've got $75,000 in product costs alone, which leaves you $25,000 for advertising, $5,000 per product. You will not build $1 million brand with $5,000 in advertising. Okay. It's going to be incredibly difficult because you also have to reorder the product. You also have to continue to scale up. You got to spend money on advertising. You got to spend money on another number of other places. If you launch one product at $15,000, let's just say you have this $100,000, you've got $85,000 to work with for advertising, reordering. It is substantially better. This is the way that I try to approach it. Go in and understand where the market is, right? Like we were talking earlier. And then go in and figure out what are the keywords, not the highest search volume keywords. This is where people go wrong. People have always said, oh, go highest search volume product. That is not right. Go in for the most relevant keywords and not the most relevant that you think, the actual most relevant. What are the 10, 15, 20, 25 different brands that you're competing against? What are they all ranking on? And make sure these products are like very, very similar, right? We don't want to be going and getting things that are substantially different or anything like that. And then be hyper targeted on that. Start, like you said, if you're just doing 10 sales a day, the hope is that you can do 50, 100, 500, 1,000 units a day on a singular product. If you're able to do that, you'll be at great scale. You don't need to go launch 3 or 4 or 5 more products. Go look at Dude Wipes. Dude Wipes is one of the most impressive brands to me. They have not raised much money at all. and I think they're going to do over 150 million this year with
Mm,
really like one product. Like they really don't have many other. Now they have a couple small variations at this point, but that's a $150 million brand, and it's
mm,
selling a couple different sizes. But like their supply chain is pretty simple to what I would say. Um, so my approach is launch a singular product, put a lot of investment towards that, scale it where you can, and don't back down on it. But make sure that you go exact first. This is my approach. Launch exact and phrase of the most relevant, highly searched products. I mean, we still care about search volume, but
yeah,
relevancy is more important.
yeah.
And just you don't have to go get 250 different keyword terms. In fact, that's how you go direct and you find some really really good ones. You'll be in a really good spot. If you go find 200 of them, you're going to get 1-2 clicks on everything. A cost is going to be super high, and you know you've gone nowhere with any keyword term. So I like going super targeted. I look at
Mm,
it as a bullseye. Let's hit the bullseye, 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 bullseye. Okay, we've already filled up the bullseye. Let's go a little bit further out, a little bit further out, a little bit further out. And now later we can kind of be, expanded.
that's cool. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And once for example, the product is stable, so should we introduce more variation instead of introducing more products?
Um, Gosh, it just depends on where you're at. I mean, there's always a market limit. Okay,
Mm,
sometimes the limit's $2,000 a month. Sometimes the limit's 10 million a month. I mean, literally, like there are products that do 10 million a month, and there are products that do nothing, and the market just is not there. So, if the market is full, I don't know if a variation is going to help a ton. You may want to try to hit in a similar market, maybe not the same.
mm.
If there's still room to grow and you've just got a black t-shirt you're selling and you want to sell a white one because you think there's a different market there, then that's totally fair. So I don't have a straight answer on that one. It just depends on the product.
Yeah, it really depends on the category in which you are selling. So yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Thank you so much, Neil, for the insights or scaling your brand on Amazon. In the last,
Thank
do you
you.
have any closing comments for the audience who is starting their brand or who already have their brand and want to scale it more?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, the best brands that I've worked with, the biggest ones on there, I've worked with some of the biggest pet brands in the world. I've worked with some of the biggest gummy vitamin brands, some of the biggest, I've worked with a number of very, very large ones. And the ones that do the best are, are working their product development and their marketing together. And this will come out here in a marketing class here later, but this is how you have always got to improve. Work as an entrepreneur. Okay. This is not a charity case like a corporation. Like we bust our ass. We do anything and everything we can to always be better, in every area of our life, but also in business. And so I always say, hey, order less quantity, get
Mhm.
the reviews in, fix it. Fix what people don't like. Get yourself to a 4.7, 4.8 star review. And you can't always hack your way there. So
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Nick. Thank you so much for your time and for the insights. I
yeah,
hope
thank
we will
you.
get you soon on the podcast some other day. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Have a good day
Yeah.
ahead.
All right. Thank you. Great time.
Bye
See
bye.
ya.